So recently I came across a comment from a guy on the internet who stumbled across my content and was somewhat puzzled and disorientated by the fact that I was making content around a camera body that wasn't the latest and greatest. It doesn't cost thousands of pounds, and he couldn't seem to be able to wrap his head around it. The camera in question is the Olympus EM1 Mark II that this video is being recorded on. It's, I suppose, on the used market. I can concede that the prices are fairly cheap for a camera body, but feature lacking it certainly isn't. Now the chap's comments surrounded by an aura of the more you spend, the better the photos. So I did something. I bought a £47 Sony NEX 5, the cheapest thing I could find on the internet that kind of fits into an ecosystem that I have. And I'm hoping in today's video that I can kind of prove a point around photography and camera gear. So sit back, press the subscribe button, and let's see what photos I can take with a Sony NEX 5 that cost £47. It's been some time since I've been out for a sunrise, and it feels really quite nice to be back out at this time of day again. It's been way too long. And this is the first point I want to make around photography, especially if you're doing this kind of landscape photography. Time of day matters more than the camera that you're using. I've come out for sunrise this morning. There's a chance and a possibility of some nice pretty colours in the sky, some nice golden light. There's high altitude, there's mid altitude, there's low altitude clouds. So there's all kinds of different cascading levels of cloud. I don't even know if cascading is the right word there, but there's some pink colours kicking off over there and it's kind of distracting me. But we're out at the right time of day is what I'm trying to point out to you. Doesn't matter what camera you're using, if you're using a Sony A7R 3, 4, 5, however many numbers they're up to now, or if you're using an iPhone. If you're out at the wrong time of day, the photos are not going to look nearly as dramatic as if you get yourself out of bed and take photos at the right time of day. So let's just adjust things ever so slightly because there's that really fun pink band of light in the sky. This brings me on to my next point. Don't be afraid to come out and try again. This photograph that I'm about to take is a composition, a photograph that I've taken several times before. In fact, quite recently on this channel, I've maybe taken it twice already. But this is the first time I've been to this spot at sunrise where there is a little bit of colour and a little bit of excitement in the sky, as opposed to coming out on grey, stormy days. Don't be afraid to take a photograph that you're not happy with. It doesn't mean it was the camera that was at fault. It just means that you're eager, it just means that you're passionate, it just means that you want to take better photographs, and that is a good thing. It doesn't mean that you have to go out and spend thousands of pounds on a new camera. It just means that you want to take a good photograph. And hopefully this photograph that I've just taken now is maybe one of the better iterations of this composition that I have taken. It doesn't mean I'm sad about the other ones, it just means I've come out and I've wanted to try again, just to improve on what I've done last time. The camera's not at fault. The camera doesn't come into the equation. It's all down to you, the photographer. And that, I'm hoping, is something that I'm going to show you in this video, is that the camera doesn't matter. It's the photographer, the mushy bit, the thing with the brain. The camera doesn't take the photograph. The camera does not care. Cameras don't take photographs. Cameras do what you tell them to do. The camera doesn't care about composition, light, weather, none of that. It doesn't care if you want a shallow depth of field. It doesn't care if you want motion blur. That is all down to you. It's not down to how much you spend on this piece of technology that is stood next to me. Anyway, that's enough waffling. Here's the photograph. So this last couple of days in the UK has been the hottest of the year, and because of that we've got a lot of humidity, and over on the River Humber there is a low mist just developing. The Humber River is looking quite blue at the minute, and so is the sky, and there is this little boat out there that is bright red, and I thought the blue and the red made a really nice sort of contrast. So I'm going to take a really minimalistic kind of photograph here, just adding a splash of colour with the red boat against a very blue backdrop. So ISO 200, f5.6, a 40th of a second, and I'm overexposing this by a stop just to really lower the contrast and just add the red boat as a big splash of colour in the photograph. So here it is. So over in the distance, the sun has now just broken the horizon. So we've left that time of day now where the clouds are all orange and pink and everything, and we're moving in towards golden hour. And this is the time of day when landscape photography really does kind of shine, and it is the absolute best time of day to be out doing this. The low golden light adds contrast and saturation, it adds colour and pop to photographs. And again, the camera doesn't care. It doesn't matter what camera you're using, because if that light isn't there, then the photograph is just going to lack a little something. So I'm going to move on a little bit closer to the lighthouses. Hopefully as the sun comes up, I'll get some really nice golden light, just adding some splashes of colour, contrast and saturation to things. Let's have a look. Let's see what this Sony NEX 5 can do. So I was about to leave my little perch to go find the lighthouses, but if you look over my shoulder, there is a tree line, and above the tree line there is a cloud which is almost exactly the same length as the tree line, and the sun's just rising, so I thought let's just hang around here for 5 or so minutes, let the sun come up and just see what it does with the landscape behind me. I'm just curious to see what the light does when it just hits, and just see if it just creates some sort of dramatic sort of textures or colours or anything. And obviously you've got the interest in the sky with the cloud, you've got the middle bit of the photograph with the tree line, but I'm just curious to see if a little bit of light on this scene really does anything. So I'm just going to hang around, and if there's a photograph to be taken, we'll take the photograph. So this really is going to be one of those suck it and see kind of moments. The light's not reacted quite as I thought it would, but I thought we'll take the photograph anyway, just for the sake of taking the photograph. So f5.6, 250th of a second, ISO 200, which is the base ISO on this camera. And let's just see what we can do with it. I'll tell you what, I've picked a nice morning to come out. It's warm, there's some light, it's just a pleasant experience to be out shooting with a new camera this morning. Now, I know absolutely nothing about this Sony NEX 5. I don't know how many megapixels resolution the images are going to be. I have no clue of the dynamic range, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I've shot most of the photographs today using aperture priority mode because I have absolutely no idea how the camera even works. But again, I'm hoping that that is going to kind of prove a point in itself, and I want the photographs today to speak for themselves more than the camera that they're being taken with, if that makes any kind of sense. I really just want to drum home the fact that it doesn't matter entirely what camera you're using. So let's run over here, let's take another photograph. So we have the lighthouse here, the white lighthouse. It's just catching some really nice warm golden light on its left hand side. I'm using a little bit of this fence. There's a keep off warning sign there, and I'm really finding that's bringing just some kind of balance. And then you've got a bush, the lighthouse, and a telegraph pole, but I don't think I'm going to include the telegraph pole in the photograph. I just think it's maybe one too many things. So I think, there we go, I have figured out how to actually move the autofocus point around. There's no backbone focus on this camera, unless I'm missing a trick with it, but here we go. So f5.6, ISO 200 again, base ISO, a 1/25th of a second, a 2-second timer, and here's this photograph. So now you've seen what a camera like this is capable of. Why did I buy this camera and what is the point? Well, the camera doesn't matter, does it? Let's be honest, if we set this camera down on the floor for a second, the camera now doesn't exist. I've been out using any camera in the world. Let's just use our imaginations. I've got some big, I don't know, full frame Nikon thing. I've never used a Nikon camera. The point here is, regardless of what I was using today, I would have taken exactly the same photographs with the camera that's not on the floor, the camera that's on this tripod, two of the cameras that I have at home. It doesn't matter because it's me that's taking the photographs. Now, that's not me blowing smoke up my own backside and saying that I'm a talented photographer. That's me pointing out that regardless of the equipment and the gear that I was using, the photos would have looked the same because it's my creative vision for the photo that I'm trying to take. It's my input for the camera settings, it's my choice of lens, and the same applies to you. So whether you can afford a £15,000 camera setup, or a £500 camera setup, or the setup on the floor that cost around £150 altogether, it doesn't matter, because it's you that's taking the photograph. You see what I'm saying? Invest in yourself as the photographer and don't worry about the gear. And that is the whole point of my YouTube channel. I'm not ramming cheap gear down people's throats. I'm ramming gear that I enjoy using and I can afford. If you can afford a more expensive camera, go out and buy it. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. I'm contradicting myself now, but I want to ram home the point that the camera doesn't matter, it's you, the photographer, that matters. Invest in yourself and don't worry about the gear, and certainly don't worry about what the internet has to say. So thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's video, if you've taken away something from it, please do give it a like and a thumbs up, because it does help bring new viewers to see my content. And if you liked it more than that, there's a subscribe button below me. You can see more nonsense from myself every single week. So until the next time, I'm going to love you and I'm going to leave you and I'm going to say peace and goodbye.